Rapamycin is a macrolide, a class of antibiotics that includes erythromycin. The rapamycin exhibits potent anti-tumor and immunosuppressive activity. Rapamycin was first discovered in 1972 in the soil of Easter Island, and it's produced by a bacterium called Streptomyces hygroscopus. It takes the name of Rapa Nui, the indigenous name for the island. Rapamycin has been used for many years as an immunosuppressant drug to prevent organ transplant rejection. It's also used to coat coronary stents and to treat a rare lung disease. However, in the early 2000s, researchers discovered its potential to increase lifespan. In low doses, the rapamycin reliably increases the lifespan of worms, yeasts, flies, and mice. In one study, researchers gave a group of 20-month-old mice rapamycin. For mice, this age is roughly equivalent to 60 years of age in humans. They gave the mice small doses of the drug for a 3-month period. Then they halted the treatment and observed them until they died naturally. Normally, the mice would have died of age-related diseases around the 30-month mark. However, those treated lived an extra 2 months on average. One of the mice managed to live 3 years and 8 months. That'd be like a human living to be 140 years old. There's other examples of increase in lifespan resulting from rapamycin in multiple species. It was originally thought the rapamycin was able to increase the lifespan by mimicking the effects of calorie restriction. Calorie restriction is another reliable method to which researchers can increase the lifespan of many species. Calorie restriction is known to target the mTOR pathway, and the same is true for rapamycin. It's an important signaling molecule involved in our nutrient sensing pathways. Essentially, a lack of nutrients turns the mTOR off, and this triggers cells to activate austerity measures focused on cell survival and stress resilience rather than growth. This allows us and other species to survive for long periods of famine. This is why some researchers believed for years that the rapamycin was simply a calorie restriction mimetic. However, recent research casts doubt on this, and it suggests it doesn't use the same pathways as calorie restriction to achieve the increase in lifespan. Despite it not being a direct calorie restriction mimetic, the rapamycin does trigger autophagy just the same, and it's likely this is one of the reasons it extends lifespan. Autophagy is the ultimate recycling system of a cell. The word comes from the ancient Greeks, meaning eating of self. In times of nutrient scarcity, it's one of the pro-survival austerity measures that cells take. Autophagy breaks down and removes unnecessary or dysfunctional cellular components to conserve energy and keep the cell alive. While it might sound harmful, it appears autophagy has longevity-promoting effects. This is likely the case as approaches known to increase lifespan, like calorie restriction and rapamycin, see their longevity effects reduced when autophagy is blocked. Rapamycin is a well-known and potent inducer of autophagy in a wide range of cells, from yeast to mammals. Because of this, it's highly likely that the rapamycin uses autophagy as one of the ways to increase lifespan. But autophagy is not the only potential reason of why it increases lifespan. Recent research with rapamycin in fruit flies and mice shows it improves the way the DNA is stored inside the cells, and this supports gut health and longevity. Our DNA is stored inside the cell nucleus, and it must be tightly wound to fit inside. A family of proteins called histones wind the DNA tightly, allowing it to squeeze into the tiny nucleus. Once packed inside, it can form chromosomes and our cells can function. Unfortunately, as we age, the number of histones begins to decrease, and this means our DNA becomes less tightly packed. This then leads to more genes being expressed, some of which are associated with the aging process. Thankfully, researchers have discovered exposure to rapamycin increases the number of histones, and so it reverses this age-related loss. It also does this via the mTOR pathway, making it a previous unknown link between this metabolic pathway and the stability of our DNA. Perhaps the most intriguing part of the discovery was it only happened in the gut cells called enterocytes. The data shows there's a direct link between the mTOR, histones, and gut health. It also suggests this link is a regulator of health and lifespan. When rapamycin's inhibition of the mTOR pathway via the mTOR C1 mediates the above positive benefits, it also inhibits mTOR C2, and this can result in diabetes-like symptoms. This includes decreased glucose tolerance and insensitivity to insulin. Some studies suggest the rapamycin treatment can also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes. Researchers are currently experimenting with ways to make the rapamycin safer in the context of longevity, including low doses, periodic dosing frequency, and using similar compounds called rapalogs, which only target the mTOR C1 pathway, and thus separate the beneficial effects from the negative ones. That said, it can't be stressed enough that rapamycin at this point is unknown in the context of human longevity, and more research is needed. Rapamycin is a controlled drug rather than a dietary supplement, but it has a good safety profile when used appropriately. There's a number of potential side effects, ranging from mild to serious and possibly life-threatening, especially at higher doses. The rapamycin should only be taken with caution under the guidance of a doctor. Some of the common side effects include lowered potassium levels in the blood, anemia, decreased blood platelets, increased blood pressure, decreased kidney function, increased triglyceride levels, constipation, joint and muscle pain, dizziness, fever, headaches, nausea, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. To learn about herbs, supplements, and natural treatment plans, check out my website.